Hello there. I'm pretty sure all of you generally love explosive weapons. You can easily clear out crowds of husks and even handle bigger targets that have a tremendous amount of health. And for this video, we are going to cover another holiday weapon that does both. If you haven't seen the other video about Santa's Little Helper, you might as well have to check that one out. That rocket launcher was an absolute menace when it comes to damage and still is a great use in the Mythic Storm King. I'll link it in the description below of the weapon video and the MSK run that I've done before with it. So for this video, it is another explosive weapon in the holiday weapon set. Instead of it being another rocket launcher, it is actually a grenade launcher that has its projectiles look like a shark eating a dynamite and bouncing around, making funny noises, eventually annihilating numbers of husks. That grenade launcher is the Shark Attack. The Shark Attack schematic can be obtained by surviving at least 30 minutes in a match of the last modifier of Frost Knight that is called Final Frost. In my opinion, it is actually a reasonable reward for a difficult modifier because the Shark Attack is actually not a very bad weapon at all when I've tried it in multiple 160 missions. The base damage may be a little let down with only 488, and Santa's Little Helper is way above that by a ton. Pretty funny when I saw where this Shark Attack launcher is, sitting right above the discharger that everybody loves. After seeing that placement, I'd say this could be a better explosive weapon. Just in case you guys are still wondering that this weapon is locked to water element over the years, it really is not. I know for a fact that its appearance made it look like it's only water element. It does make sense because it has a shark on it as to what this weapon is titled to, but in all fairness, you can turn it to any element you want to use for certain elemental husks. I actually have two copies of it. The first copy here is mainly focused on overall damage, with double damage perks, reload speed, damage to afflicted with affliction 6 perk. The second copy is purely built for crit, with crit rating, double crit damage, damage to slowed and snared with the snaring 6 perk. Although the first does a heck ton of damage, with the 6 perk being a status effect applies as well, making this a very decent damage build for a grenade launcher. The second is basically what perhaps most people would definitely pick as their build because crit builds are the most common and the most effective tactic available, in which we can take a look on what other perks you can place on the Shark Attack. So you've seen the perks of the first copy. This first lot can have damage. The second one can have reload speed if you prefer to reload quicker. It can also have damage as well. For the elements perk, as given the heads up before, it can be in any element. It is not locked to water. It's pretty weird this Shark Attack can have triple critical rating, but not triple crit damage like the Santa's Little Helper. But I probably get why this would have been another insane weapon if it were to have triple crit damage. It has a crazy good radius similar to the Santa's Little Helper, but even then with less base damage, this would have potentially be another killer weapon. Anyways, it unfortunately doesn't have triple crit damage, but it can have quadruple overall damage to have this launcher deal the highest possible damage output. The fifth perk slot can have damage to miss monsters and bosses, which is also a great option if you want to use this against smashers and maybe the mini bosses. And now with the 6 perks, there are 3 available for you to pick whatever fits you best. This copy's 6 perk that I am showcasing right now has the 30% snaring for every damage dealt. Another one we can have is the affliction status effect, in which you deal damage over time, then snaring. My other copy has this affliction 6 perk for its purpose to deal as much damage as possible. And the last one is whenever you stun or knock back any sort of enemy, deal additional 12 base damage. That helps out increase your current 488 to 500 base damage on the dot. This grenade launcher does have enough impact to knock back some huskies and perhaps smashers, so if you want to build this for pushing off enemies, you can possibly do that for sure. And of course, there are impact perks around here too. You could try at least one impact if you want a guarantee 500 base damage for every time you stun or knock them back, which will still be very decent as a build itself. That should be all for the perks on the shark attack. Very simple perking, hence an explosive weapon. It shouldn't be really complicating, so the same thing goes with getting a loadout for an explosive weapon. Like I said, it's not very complicating. I have Demolitionist Penny as the commander lead on this loadout for her faster explosions perk that gives a boosted 50% launcher damage. She is the only hero in the game that increases damage for any explosive weapons used. I have her supercharged a long time ago as well, so that should help her survivability with the stats boosted. With the Blast from the Past team perk activated by Saurian Might and Saurian Hide, which both of them are Rex Jonesy and Prehistoric Isa. Battle Beat perk for the Rocking Riff buff that increases 50% overall damage for a certain period of time. I am obviously using a high damage grenade launcher that clears out a group of husks, so adding another 50% overall damage would maximize the output of the damage dealt with the shark attack, therefore making this perk a very good support for this particular loadout. Enduring Machine helps out not to expend too much each shot, giving 20% chance to not consume rocket ammo. This basically only applies to explosive weapons. The shark attack uses 3 rockets per shot, so having this perk helps a ton, personally to me as well, because I'm clearly a brokey. And the last support perk is the Coconuts 4 heals and the 16% damage. Very simple and tanky as well. I did show that I have both copies of the shark attack. Those 2 different builds would still work very well with this one basic loadout. If you prefer to just have pure crit damage, then a totally rocking out loadout is okay too, so as long as you don't die by them fire gunslingers. Other than that, the shark attack is actually a very fun weapon, just like every other weapon in the holiday set. Even if it's not as strong as the Santa's Little Helper, it's also a very powerful grenade launcher for whatever you want to decimate a bunch of husks around. A very good weapon as a reward for doing really good in the Final Frost match. I'd say it's worth a shot. Sorry for procrastinating the upload of this video. The next one will not be as late as this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourself and love yourself.